Right.
Awesome.
Hi everyone. So yeah, welcome to our stream. I'm just gonna put us over here. I'm Andrei Pavlitchouk, as you may have seen before. I mainly focus in on cloud, and yeah, I've released quite a few Terraform courses. I'm still continuing with them, so if you're waiting for my latest video, it's coming out soon. Yeah, and Connie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yep, I'm Connie 𝐦𝐨𝐭, and I'm an instructor. I'm a software engineer, full stack developer. I'm a game developer. I'm a mentor and a coach, and I'm here to help Andrei learn full stack development, or kind of guide him through as he goes through the free code camp modules. There's a ton of them. There's lots to learn, and this is going to be hugely exciting. And you know, there's so many different directions that you can go after you've gone through these things that it's just an exciting career to get into, and we're glad you're here. If you're joining us, please stay tuned. Join us every Saturday. Yeah.
So yeah, so essentially, what can you explain to us what basically we're going to be doing now with myself?
I sure can. So there is a website, freecodecamp.org, and Andrei, I think you have that up possibly.
Yeah.
So it doesn't cost anything. It's free. You just go on there. There's an web IDE, which is an integrated development environment. You can go in there and actually do the coding right in your web browser. So you don't really need any extra tools, at least here at first. We may later do some stuff outside of that browser, because realistically, you don't want to stick inside the browser to do your web development, because you won't be doing that in your career once you get your software engineering job. So you want to be very comfortable with developing with an IDE like Visual Studio Code or IntelliJ or something like that. But for now and for quite a while, you can just get really comfortable. Join us here on Saturdays. Go through these modules that also have certificates that you can put on your resume or your LinkedIn. And there's so many. There's just all kinds of them. Like if you saw the marketing blurb that we did, it listed all of those types of things. The front end and back end web development, data visualization. You know, there's scientific computing, data analysis, machine learning, all kinds of really great stuff that we're going to be getting into. So it's going to be really fun and exciting. I'm glad that Andrei invited me to go through his experience and learning, and made it available to everyone else to join us. So that's really awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah. So let's get started, I guess. So essentially, what we're going to be doing is I think we are going to be going through and free code camp. You said, right?
Yep. There it is. Yep.
Yep. So I'm just going to get started and click here. It's free to sign in, and I'm just gonna continue with GitHub, and I'm going to use my GitHub account to actually log in and authorize free code camp.
Right. And so if you don't have a GitHub account, you probably should. If you're intending to be a software engineer, you will want a GitHub account. So go to, I think it's github.org?
GitHub.com,
yeah. .com. Okay, so go there and sign up for that. It's a place where you can basically store your code. It's version control. It's also a little bit of social interaction, because you can list. It shows like it shows a heat map of all the different commits and how active you've been with developing code and pushing your code up to GitHub. So it can help you get a good visual for how active you are with your coding, which is a good indicator for recruiters who might wonder, how much do you really code? So there's a really good way. And when we start doing these projects, there will be a time when we are going to be going through GitHub as well. So if you are not going to sign up this way, we can sign up later during that time.
Cool. So what should we then do now?
Yeah, what you want to do is go ahead and click on New Responsive Web Design Certification. We're just going to start at the top and come on down. So here it explains the courses. Let me also go over here on my end, so it's a little bit easier to walk through. Okay, so the first one is learn HTML by building a cat photo app. And all you got to do is just click on, I think it's click on the number 1 there.
Yeah.
Yep. And this shows you what it is you're going to be building as we go through and do the learning. Like I said, the in browser coding, it's going to give you instructions as you go. And as you are finishing and doing these assignments, you're going to be building out this little cat photo app and learning along the way.
Okay, sounds cool. All right, so should I just click start coding then?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then it says, okay, so what step 1 HTML elements have opening tags. Make sure the text is between. So I type in over here, right? So they say for me to change the text to cat photo app. So I'm just gonna, like, I guess, change this text over here. And yeah, that has changed for me. So I will now, you click check your code, right? And then, yep, and that's it. And then
that is it.
Do the next challenge.
Yep, simple as that. Now, if you want to kind of right click on your browser tab and do a duplicate. So if you click on at the very top on your browser tab, right click, and is there duplicate? Yeah, duplicate tab. And then go back to click on new responsive web design to go back to that home page that listed all the modules on it from here. I think you can click on, that right there. Scroll down. And you'll see how it's blue. Now that just means that you've completed it. So you can track your progress here on this page. It will come up like that. I just wanted to show you that this is what it does.
Sounds good. Okay, cool. Right, so my next one is below the H1. The H1 is, so so it's saying below the H1 element add a H2. So they H2 and then cat photos. H2.
Now, the important thing about as you're going through here, you can see that there's a paragraph at the top of the instructions, and then there's a direct instructions like at the bottom. Like you could get away with just going down there to that second paragraph and say, okay, below the H1 element, add an H2 and easily do that. But if you don't read as you go, there's some really good nuggets in there sometimes about why things are the way they are, or what is an H2 versus an H1, and how do they relate to each other? Which one's, is one bigger, one smaller, etc. So I don't know, Andrei, if you want to take the time and actually read that out loud, it might be helpful even to other learners who are audible learners who don't like to read themselves, but boy, they like to hear it and they really learn that way. So you actually be providing a benefit for them by reading it as you go. Secondly, I'd like to say that if you personally are a learner, an audible learner, and no one else is on a live stream with you, you're just at home by yourself learning something, you've got a book or something you have to read, don't read to yourself. Read out loud, even if no one else is there, because if you're an audible learner and you're hearing that, and you actually are hearing it and you're learning it better as you're hearing it and not just as it's going into your brain as a silent reading experiment. So I would recommend that you go ahead and read these as we go through.
Okay, we'll do that on the next one. But yeah, this one basically was just about the elements. So we'll go into the next challenge, and then it says the P element is used to create a paragraph of text on websites. Create a P element below your H2 element and give it the following text. Click here to view more cat photos. So it's asking me to create a P element below my H2 element. So, and then, yeah, it's probably best I did that anyway.
Yeah, you certainly all okay to copy things. And when you're programming, a lot of times you hear different philosophies about copy and paste. the thing about not copying and pasting is to get something in your hand so that because again, when you're learning and processing something and trying to learn it and get better at it, it is so much better to type it out, because you're having to like hold on to that thought a little longer as it goes through your hands. But if you know something very well, you've done it a million times, there's nothing wrong with copy and pasting. Or something is so unique or different that you might misspell it. And with coding, it has to be exact, because the computer only knows the exact same thing that it needs. So it's fine to copy and paste it under those circumstances as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely. Yeah. Making Anna Moan said to hey Andrei and hey Connie. So hello. Yeah. Welcome to our show.
Hey.
So yeah. Essentially, we've looked through that. We're using freecodecamp.org to go through these responsive web designs and to actually go and monitor. So we're gonna actually go into the next element challenge now. So commenting allows you to leave messages without affecting the browser display. It also allows you to make code inactive. A comment in HTML starts with I always forget what that symbol is.
Yep, that's a less than sign.
And that's
and sometimes in coding we call that other thing, that next thing, a bang.
Exclamation marks and hyphen.
Hyphen, yeah.
Yeah, contains any number of lines of text and then sort of hyphen and the more than. And for example, comment is this. So the next challenge is add a comment above the P element with this text. So in this case, what we're going to be doing is we need to actually go over here and we need to add a comment. So what we're gonna do is like so, add to so taking a page from your book,
Awesome.
writing this out, even though it's just text. Usually I if it's like just something of a if it's something of a like just text, I usually like copy and paste. But if it's like code, I try always to H1 and H2 change those out really. So if I just click on check, so submit and go to the next challenge. So essentially over here, I've noticed a few people have joined us. If you're not sure and you'd like to follow along, we basically are going through freecodecamp.org, and then we're going through the responsive web design. So let me just, it's basically freecodecamp and then responsive web design. You can follow along with us. If I just refresh this, we're just on number 4 right now, but we're just going through and building and learning HTML, and then eventually we are gonna be going through all the other stuff as well.
Yeah.
So essentially, I'm just gonna go through the next step now. So we're gonna go into number 5.
And if you want to, Andrei, I can do some of this reading too if you get tired of reading. For those of you who have just joined us, the reason why we're reading is because of the learning, the way that many people learn. Some people learn with audibly. So it makes sense to read out loud, even if you're by yourself. Or if you're joining and you're rewatching this and you like watching the videos, it helps too. And somebody could read that for you as they go through. It makes it easier for you to learn, then that's helpful.
Okay, so step 5, I'll do this one and then you can do the next one. Or maybe we may alternate. HTML5 has some elements that identify different content areas. These elements make your HTML easier to read and help with SEO, search engine optimization, and accessibility. Identify the main section of this page by adding a main opening tag after the H1 and the closing tag after the P. So we need to add a main for and then after P we need to also add main. Check your code. Brilliant. Okay, cool. So we are going to now go into the next one. Do you want to go ahead with this, Connie?
Yeah, I'll read this one. So this one, in the previous step, you nested H2 element and a P element within the main element. A nested element is a child of a parent element, and that's a really important concept in HTML. It's just a bunch of tags that are nested within each other to build whatever it is you're trying to build. So a nested element is a child of its parent element. It should be indented 2 more spaces than its parent element to improve readability like this. Now, readability is really important in coding because, I mean, technically, you could, like Andrei, for example, he could move that H2 element right up beside that next to that main tag. And the computer will read it just fine. The computer cares nothing about white space. But for humans, we have to go back in and edit it again, come back in and read it and see what is this page, what is this code doing? So it's very helpful to make your code as readable as possible. And that's the point they're making here. So for example, your UL, which is your unordered list, and your LI, which is your list item, they're indented so you can see that the list item is a child of the unordered list. So yeah. Okay.
Cool. So it says add 2 spaces in front of the add 2 spaces in front of the 3 child elements of main so your HTML is more readable. So what we need to do is in front of the 3 child elements of main. So nested, sorry, I'm just trying to figure what I need to do over here.
Yeah, make an anime says why spaces and not tabs. You certainly could use tabs. You can use tabs, and some of your all of your IDEs, you can specify, do you want to use spaces or tabs? And not only that, but how many spaces or tabs do you want to use? So you can figure that. You can configure it, and it will just do, whatever your preference is. And there's different philosophies as to which is better, spaces or tabs, out there. So pick whichever one is your favorite that you like to do the best, and just go with that one. And sometimes you'll work when you start to work in a development shop with other developers, and their convention is to use spaces or tabs, and you just go with whatever they're using. Okay, so it's a little bit, maybe it seems like it's a little bit confusing as to the instructions here, but let's just see. Add 2 spaces in front of the 3 child elements. Okay, so the 3 child elements here in the main are H2, your comment, and your P. So what they want you to do is go in here and just add 2 spaces. Just like that. Yep, you're welcome. Making anime.
Does it matter about the comment, or do you usually
no, you want to also indent your comment. You also want to move your main back a couple so that it's not that one, but your bottom, your closing tag main.
Okay. Yep.
So it looks like it's all indented inside main. Yep. There you go.
Brilliant. Cool. Yeah. That's so yeah, this is more for just readability, right? It's not for anything.
The computer doesn't care. No. Yeah.
Exactly. So in this step, you can add images to your website by using the image element. Image elements have an opening tag without a closing tag. A tag for an element without a closing tag is known as a self-closing tag. Add an image element below the P element. At this point, no image will show up in the browser. So I need to create an image tag, and then I'm guessing it just needs me to close it. Should not. Oh, yeah. So it doesn't have a closing tag.
So they call these self-closing tags. Yep.
Cool. So the next one is HTML attributes are special words used inside the opening tag of an element to control the element's behavior. The source attribute in an image element specifies the image URL where the image is located. An example of an image element is using a source attribute, so image and then source on a web page. So inside the existing image element, add a source with this URL. So I'm just going to do, so I've got the image tag. What I need to do is over here, I need to write source. Do you usually have a space after the image like this?
Yes, after the to separate your tag name and your attribute names, spaces in between.
I'm just going to copy this URL because I don't want to type it all out.
That's one of those things where I totally would just copy. Yep.
and then over here, so that should
hopefully look closely at your end. There you go.
One more.
There you go.
So let's just check the code. No.
Sorry, what do you have there? Source equals image. So.
Oh right, whoops! I copied the wrong URL.
Oh, wrong URL. Otherwise, I think it's fine.
Yeah, there you go. There's one. There's a cat. Cool. So that's complete. So we're just gonna go into the next change, and then all image elements should have an out attribute. The out attribute's text is used for screen readers to improve accessibility and is displayed if the image fails to load. So for example, image source equals cat out a cat has an alternative attribute with the text a cat. So inside the image element, add an out attribute with this text, a cute orange cat lying on its back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a couple of things here with what we're doing right now are the concept of attributes. Attributes are like arguments in an HTML tag. What's an argument? It's when you're coding, you have things that will, of course, your algorithms are just a series of steps. Sometimes you need to give certain variables, certain information to the list of steps that it won't know until you actually tell it what it is. Like, for example, this image tag, it says, okay, well, I'm supposed to display an image, but it doesn't know what image to display. So an argument is something you pass into something to tell it exactly, how to do the thing or some piece of information that it needs in order to do the thing. So there are these things called attributes. HTML has all kinds of attributes. We're going to add another one here. It's called the alt attribute. It's ALT. So there are all kinds of attributes. Just kind of be on the watch for those and say, okay, there's another attribute. Okay, there's another attribute. Because attributes are something not only here in HTML, but when we go to learn React later, like frameworks, React looks like HTML, and it also takes arguments and things like that. So as we continue to learn, you're going to learn things that are very similar to something you've already learned, and we're going to keep on building and building and building on this foundation that we're doing here. The other thing, too, about this alt attribute specifically is there's this concept of usability that for someone who maybe can't see very well or and they need a screen reader so that how they surf their web is more of the audible, so they turn a screen reader on. That alt tag will let them know that this is a cute orange cat lying on its back. So that's what that alt tag does. And so keep that in mind when you're building and you're starting your career as, okay, will this serve all the users, or will someone who can't, has a disability or something like that be able to use my product or my site? And then put things in there like alt tags and things like that help that. And there's a whole other, I'm not sure if FreeCodeCamp gets into that or not. I'd be surprised if they don't, but there's a whole other body of knowledge that that's all they do is they go in and make things very usable for people with disabilities and things like that. So I just wanted to add that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So I'm going to go to the next change. So, so if you saw, I added the text before on it like this. And then step 10 is you can link to another page with the anchor element. For example, ahref equals freecodecamp.org will link to freecodecamp.org. So add an anchor element after the paragraph that links to at this point, the link won't show up in the preview. So we have add after the paragraph that links to. So what we need to add a after here.
Let me see. Add an anchor element after the paragraph that links to. Okay, so what they're saying is after the paragraph. So we're not wrapping anything. We're just basically, I think, adding an anchor. So I think you want to hit enter after your P tag.
Oh yeah. Okay.
New line, yeah, and then add your anchor tag.
And then.
Yep. And your anchor tag takes an href attribute. It needs to know. An anchor tag basically is like a link. It's how you create a link on the web, and it needs to know where to link to, and that's what that href means. That's your reference.
Yeah, and as you can see now that I got a hyperlink in there.
Yeah, so you'll need to have a closing a tag. Did it tell us to put anything in between? So an anchor element at this point. The link won't show up in the preview, right? Because, okay, so the closing a tag goes after. No, you want to actually, no, you want to, okay, well, that will work, what you just had there, but you have to actually close it with a closing angle bracket. So which would be the greater than symbol, which is the one above the period on your keyboard. There you go. And yep, just close that space. Yes. Okay, so you have your opening a tag and your closing a tag. There's nothing in between them. That thing that's in between is the text that might show up that you're going to click on. Since there's nothing in between there, then it's not showing up on your page. It is there. Like if you put like hello in between, or just real quick, just type hello in between the a tags. Go down to the end after .com, closing break, closing anchor. Keep going right there. Yeah. If you typed hello in there, yep, see that? It shows up, and that's what you'd click on. But since there's no text in there, which is they didn't have you put any, so kind of delete that because it won't pass the test. Yep. As soon as you put something in there, that's what you're going to click on to make that work.
Okay, cool.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, so with Free Code Camp, they're a totally free site. And occasionally, if you're just working on it, they'll pop up and say, hey, do you want to donate? So just so you know, I do donate to them monthly. So we're good.
Okay, so we're going to go into the next one. A link's text must be placed between the opening and closing tag of an anchor element. For example, and then it'll give the text like you've just explained, Connie. Add the anchor text cat photos to the anchor element. So essentially what we just had, we just need to add cat photos.
Yep.
And now if I check my code, yep, brilliant. So that's done and complete. Turn the words cat photos located inside P element into a link using the same value for the href attribute as the link below the P element. The P element should show the same text in the browser, but the words cat photos should now be a link. Make sure to remove the A element with the text cat photos on the line below the P element. So what's this asking is saying, make sure to remove the A element with the text cat photos on the line below the P element. So I'm just trying to.
Yeah, let me also open it over here on my end too, so that because it's easier for me to read. But I'm going to go to, we're on step 12. We're on step 12 already. That's awesome. We're almost up to the first line. Okay, turn the words cat photos located inside the P element into a link using the same value for the href element.
So the P element should show the same text. Yeah, this one was like, let's see. So, okay, they want a nesting. That's what they want. So they want So I think what they want is you see where you got to click here to view more cat photos. Then that's what they want.
So your A element should be nested within the P element. Okay. So I think they want, let's say the P element should show the same text in the browser, but the words cat photos should now be a link, which your cat photo is already a link.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure to remove the A element with the text cat photos. I think maybe they just want you to possibly put your A tag inside the P tag.
Turn the words inside P element.
Let me try that, see if that's what they want there.
Then yeah, I think they just they want this, and then they want
turn the words cat photos located inside the P element into a link. I thought we already did. I thought that's what we just did. Turn the words cat photos located inside the P element. So you have the word cat. Did you do it?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
awesome. Yes.
Essentially, what they needed to do was just we needed to get rid of the closing of the P and then put it over here, and we needed to replace the cat photos as we had in the text into this one. So that's how.
Oh, there you go.
So on to the next one. So add a target attribute with the value _blank to the anchor A element opening tag so that the link opens in a new tab. So click here to view. Add a target attribute with the value blank.
Okay, so this is another attribute that we're going to add, and this would be in your A element. Mm-hmm.
Is it like so?
Yes. Target equals. And the value is going to be the _blank. So that's actually going to be in quotes. Yeah. Now what that does is it will, when you click on it, it'll open up. When you click on any anchor in the web, you can just replace the current page that you're on with the new location, like the new href, or you can tell it to open in a new tab. And the way to do that is by referencing, you can use anything. It could have been _hello, and it would have opened in a new tab, because all it says, href will be able to know a Windows name if you had previously named something. If you had two anchors on your page and you had the first one says target _blank and the second one said _blank, that target is now named, and it would just replace that. So that blank _blank could have been anything. And of course, not in this exercise because it's looking for the text _blank, but when you're coding something, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna hopefully use more. So step 14 is turn the image into a link by surrounding it with necessary element tags. Use as the anchor's href attribute. So I need to use this as a anchor's href attribute.
Okay, so the thing is, you have this image here, image source equals right there. What they want is for someone to be able to click on that image and open something. So you want to turn that image into like where your text was before, where it said a cute cat or whatever that text was that you clicked on. Instead of clicking on text, you're going to click on this image. So that image now goes in between the opening and closing A tags. So you want to put an opening A tag before the image and a closing one after the image. And that puts that image in the middle, which means that someone will be able to click on that and go to wherever the anchor tag is pointing. So you actually want to put your, go ahead and close that A at the beginning, not close it, but put your greater than symbol after the A.
So wait, after here, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Yep. So there's the opening tag, and now you want to have your closing tag afterwards. Okay, so you just deleted your greater than symbol after your quote. You have to put that back. Yep. There you go. So you have one more piece of information there that the anchor tag, the A tag needs, that href. And it needs to go inside right after the A and a space. So delete that.
Sorry, delete all of that.
Delete, yeah, go back inside the A tag.
I am in.
Now space.
Okay.
Oh, nope, you're not inside the A tag. Go back inside the closing.
All right, okay.
There you go. That's inside the A tag. Yep.
Because see.
I don't know if it will mind that space after the A tag or not. Probably not.
Let's see.
You know, any other time it wouldn't have mattered, but since this is checking against very specific, it's got this test engine going in the background. Sometimes if it's looking for a space and it doesn't find one, it won't like that. But generally, if you had left that on your page, your personal website or whatever you're doing, it wouldn't have cared.
Awesome. Right. Next one, sub 15. Before adding any new content, you should make use of a section element to separate the CAF photos content from the future content. Take all the elements currently located within the main element and nest them in the section element. So that should be use of a section element to separate currently located within the main element. So basically, it's asking me to add another within the main. And then I need to also add in a section.
Yeah. So whenever you're nesting, remember the lesson that we learned before. It probably will be fine with this, but generally, when you nest things, you want to have a couple of spaces to show that something is nested for readability.
Yeah, like so.
Yep, just like that. And if you get in the habit of it now, that's just because it's wrapping.
No, I just leave it to wrap. Okay.
Yeah.
And that.
Yeah.
That should be fine. Yep.
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, it's those little things, right? With coding, it's just like it's just you eventually get your practice and style into that, wherever you're coding up. So
right. Yes.
So sub 16, it is time to add a new section. Add a second section below the existing element. Okay, cool. So we will now add a new section. And then we will close off that section because they haven't really specified anything else. So let's just check the code. And select and go to the next one. So within the second section element, add a new H2 element with the text cat list. So again, we'll here H2 and then write out cat lists and then H2. There you go. So hopefully we are. Yep, we're continuing and plowing forward. So when you add a lower rank element, heading element to the page, it's implied that you're starting a new subsection. After the last H2 element of the second section element, add a h3 element with this text, fins, cat, love. Okay, so what we're gonna do is after the last the h3 element with the text, fins. So we need to add a h3. And then, yeah, easy so far.
Yeah, not too bad. Doing a great job.
After the h3 element with the thins, cat, love text, add an unordered list element. No, then nothing will be displayed at this point. So we're gonna do and then we're gonna close it again. Yeah, they didn't like the spacing. They don't have so much spacing already, but that's fine. So the next one is use the list items elements to create items in lists. So here's an example. So just to explain, we have a UL, which is an unordered list, and then you have a list elements within it, right?
Yep. So unordered just means unless you tell it otherwise, it defaults to you get the little dots like a bulleted list. That's unordered. It's not in any particular order. That's what the UL stands for. OL is ordered list. So instead of bullet, you'd get the numbers. You can tell it, you can configure it and tell it that you don't want to use any bullets, etc. So a good resource for HTML and other web development is W3 Schools. And it by the way, speaking of documentation and looking things up, the more comfortable you get with looking things up and the documentation of different languages and different products, the better, because once you understand how to find your way around, pretty much it helps you to solve the problem, answer the question, understand how to use the thing, etc. So good resource, W3 Schools. And I don't have the ability to edit the chat, or I would drop that in there. Maybe, Andrei, you could put that in there. Are you able to edit the chat?
Can you not post a comment?
Yeah, post a comment. Can I post a comment? Am I able to do that?
Well, you can just comment on a YouTube stream.
Oh, right. I got to go over there. Yeah, let me do that. So it's basically, let me do that. And I will post that resource as Andrei is working through here.
Cool. So I've added the lists. So after the unordered list, add a new image with the source attribute value set to HTTPS CDN free code camp, and its out attribute value to a slice of lasagna on a plate. So out. I had to need this out is this. Did you manage to get that, Connie?
I did. I dropped that in there.
Brilliant. Okay, cool. All right.
So normally you can, hit shift and hit enter and it'll let you do 2 lines. This one didn't, so that's why it's coming up on two different comments, and the other one looks like it hasn't quite arrived yet. So I did put that in there. I don't know where it is. Why it's not showing up yet.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. If it not, let's see. Just checking quickly. Yeah, I see the great resource. Can you not post it up in this chat that we have over here in our program?
Yeah, I can post a private one. So let me do that, and maybe you can put it over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that in the private chat. Do you see it?
Yeah, I got it. 1 second.
Okay.
I'll just push this out to. There you are. So that should come through. Okay, cool. So in terms of what we need to do now is the figure element represents self-contained content and will allow you to associate an image with a caption. So that's the image you just added within a figure element. So the figure element, so that's the image you just added with figure element.
So another good thing to do right when you're first starting to learn code, or really anytime you're learning code, is to try to use shortcut keys and try to get away from, if you're one who likes to point and click, try to avoid that because the more that you can keep your hands on the keyboard, the faster you will be. So there are, like, if you use a Windows machine, the shift tab will move you a whole word over. Use your end key, the shift left arrow, shift right arrow, and things like that. So play around with the ones that make sense for you, and make a point to, there's those tiny habits. If you've ever read the Tiny Habits book, you start with one thing and you add a little habit, and you work on that until you install that habit. This is definitely one of those things that I would do to install, is getting your hands to stay on the keyboard, not necessarily using the single arrow, move one space at a time kind of a thing. So if you wanted to try doing some of that, Andrei, maybe you could do that now, or we'll try to install one for next time. That's up to you.
I will try that. And a fig caption element is used to add a caption to describe the image contained within the figure element. So, for example, fig caption, a cute cat. Fig caption adds a caption, a cute cat. After the image nested in a figure element, add a fig caption element with text set to cats love lasagna. So what we need to do then a figure element. And then let's try that. Yeah. Emphasize the word love in the fig caption element by wrapping it with an emphasis element. So we shall do that.
Yep. So basically, HTML is called a markup language, and it's called a markup language because basically you're taking some text, you're taking some content, and you're marking it up with, and you're telling the browser how to present that information. So, for example, here the EM stands for emphasis. So when you put that EM around that love, it made it. I think it's probably a italic. Yeah.
Over here.
Yeah. Makes it italic. So you're marking up the text, the content, and telling the browser how to present that in the way that you want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so after the figure element, add another H3 element with the text top 3 things cats hate. So after the figure element, we need to add another H3 element with the text. So
I think they want it after do they want it after the figure element or in nested? And I'm not sure. Let me go check my text here. Let's see how that reads.
let me try. Yeah, it wouldn't make sense if it's within.
Okay.
Let's try. Top. Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
The code for an ordered list is similar to an unordered list, but list items in an ordered list are numbered when displayed. After the second section, elements last each 3 element, add an ordered list with these 3 list items. So we need to create an ordered list.
So now you'll notice that it's not telling you exactly how to do things now. You're having to kind of recall and remember. As it goes, it does a fairly decent job of trying to have you recall from memory to help reinforce what you've already learned here.
Yeah, I remember that I had to use like list, which is a list item. So essentially after when I use 𝐥𝐤𝐤, which is an unordered list. So
awesome.
Let's see if I can. And I need to write again. Treat. Oh, wait.
I think treatment, goes with goes with flea treatment.
It does. Hold on.
Oh, I see what. Yeah.
Yeah, I was working on the Thunder, so let me do this. Go back to full screen, and then add in another. Yeah, one of the other things I know I did when I was like learning all the kind of like coding and stuff, I had to I learned how to touch type. It was really important. It's like that basically helped me a lot with the whole typing fast and knowing how to do it really. So
yes, that is a very good point. Awesome. So if you can practice typing, and the faster you type, obviously the faster you can go from what you're thinking to actually coming out to your IDE or your integrated development environment or wherever you're coding, the better you're going to be. Because if you have to wait around for your hands to type out the thing that you're thinking you want to type, it can be very frustrating. So get better at typing is very helpful.
All right, so the next one, what we need to do is after I think I just did it, right? So let's just check the code. Now you figure. Oh, and whoops, I'm on the next step and I just haven't done it. So I need to add the figure element. Figure. Right.
All right.
Inside the figure element, you just added nest an image element source with
So they're in this link here. It's a cdn.freecodecamp.org, etc. CDN is a standard. It's a definition for, or it's an acronym for a content delivery network. So whenever you see CDN, that's what that means. Basically, it exists out there on the interwebs to deliver content. Basically, a lot of times it'll be packages of code that you want to use, releases of things. Here it looks like it's photos. So. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yep, close your image. Good.
All right.
Still didn't like it. Source attribute. Oh, you have image source, not href on your image, just the source.
Oh,
yep.
okay.
Yep. Anchor gets an href. There you go. And I used to get those confused all the time. It's just something that just memorize.
Yeah. So to improve accessibility of the image, you just add an out attribute with the text 5 cats around a field. So we're gonna do equals.
Yep. And usually whenever you have an image that you're displaying on your website, just always include an alt tag. Your browser, of course, won't care one way or the other, but standard practice, always have an alt to say, what is the picture that you're showing here in the text? Yeah.
After the last image element, add a fig caption element with the text cat hate other cats. So fig cat.
Do you have cats, Andrei? Do you have any pets?
Yeah, I have 2. Yeah.
Is it true? Cats hate other cats?
One of them does hate. Well, she hated the other one, but now it's like she's more tolerant. So
yeah, I had 2 cats once in my life, and they were okay. I mean, they didn't love each other or anything, but they tolerated each other. I think is a good word.
Cats. I forget. Is this meant to be in a does it operate like a H heading,
yeah.
or does it?
Yeah, it's basically your caption there.
Yeah, cats.
Yep, there it is.
I like cats. Brilliant. Okay. And now we're gonna go into the next one, which is the step 1, which is the strong element is used to indicate that some text is of strong importance or urgent. In the fig caption you just added, yeah, indicate the hate is of strong importance by wrapping it in a strong element. So we're gonna go into this strong, and then we're gonna go. Let's see. Yeah, so there we are. So basically that's your bold, right? So
yeah, EM was italic and strong is bold.
Okay, so it is time to add a new section, add a third section element below the second section element. So where we're gonna go into new section, add a third below the second section element. So this is the second section. Right, we are getting there.
Yeah, moving right along.
So inside the third section element, add a H2 element with the text cat form. So we shall do that. Sure. Cat. Wait, no, there's no quotes. Right, cool, that's done, completed. Next, now you will add a web form to collect information from users. After the cat form heading, add a form element. So we're gonna And yeah, I guess it doesn't ask us to add anything, so just gonna.
Do you hear my dog barking?
Yes, I do.
I'm gonna go over. Do you think it'd be all right if I just go over here and open the door and let him in?
Go for
Awesome. I will be right back. Don't go away.
The action attribute indicates where form data should be sent. For example, form action submit URL form. Tells the browser that the form data should be sent to the path submit URL. Add an action attribute with the value freecatphotoapp.com/submit your
All right.
photo to the form element. So action.
Okay, so they're looking for an action attribute right now. So an attribute would be something that goes inside the form element. So you want to go right after the word form. This is an attribute, not a tag.
Oh, okay.
So the action equals inside the form element. So just like you had a source equals and an href equals, you're going to have an action equals inside the form element.
Yeah, fine.
Yep. Yep. So you need to actually put that inside the form. Yeah. So you can cut that and paste it or retype it. I would cut and paste it. Go ahead and highlight that whole line.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Action equals also. So the whole line. Yep. Cut it. Put it. Go up to form. Yep. Space. Yep. Right there. Yeah.
I see. Okay. So is form another one of those like image? Do I need to close?
You don't need to put anything in there yet unless it's telling us to put something in there.
Let's have a look. Let's check the code.
Yeah. Oh, it says, although you have set action attributes to the correct URL, it's recommended always surround the value of an attribute with quotation. Don't we have quotation? Oh, you had them. I thought it was in quotation marks. There we go. Yep. No wonder it wasn't blue yet. Okay, there we go.
Cool. So that's done. The input element allows you several ways to collect data from a web form, like image elements. Input elements are self-closing and do not need closing tags. Nest an input element in the form element. So where do we do it? Again,
so that when you have a nesting, when they use, so FreeCodeCamp, you'll see the words after and then nesting. So yeah, nesting would be inside the opening closing tags. And the element here is called input. So just like you have form, well, no, that's an attribute. So you want to come down to the empty line, yep, and nest it. So a couple of spaces, and then an input tag. And it's self-closing, which means that you can go right after the T, put a space, and then a slash. Space, slash. Yep, there you go. Yep.
Okay, let's look on the next one. There are many kinds of input. They got rid of the slash over here, but you can create using a type attribute. You can easily create a password field, reset button, or a control to let users select a file from their computer. Create a text field to get text input from a user by adding a type attribute with a value text to the input element. So let's see. So we have input. There are many kinds. You can easily create a password field, reset button, or control to that user select. Create a text field to get text input from a user by adding a type attribute with a value text. So if it's type.
Awesome. Yes.
With a value text. So text
Yep, that's exactly it. Good job. Inputs can be different kinds. So you can have text types, you can have password types. There's drop down, which that's a select, that's a different thing. But yeah, so you can specify what type it is.
Cool. Do you want to read this one, Connie? I've been reading for a while. My throat's a bit, I'm still trying to recover.
Sure thing. Let me just open it over here. We're on 38. Yeah, so I'm so glad that you're not getting very, very ill with the COVID thing. So keep drinking that water.
It has been quite bad. It's just like yesterday and today I'm getting a bit better. So yeah.
I'm glad for that. Okay, so we're on number 38 here. In order for a form's data to be accessed by the location specified in the action attribute. So if you remember back on that form tag, we had an action that it did. So in order for the data for the form that we're enclosing all of the different fields and everything in that to be accessed by that location, you've got to give the text field a name attribute. So we have to add a name attribute and assign it a value to represent the data being submitted. So for example, you could use the following syntax for an email address text field. So there's that example: input type equals text, name equals email. So what we want to do here is add the name attribute with the value cat photo URL to your text field. So just like we have a type attribute, we want to add a name attribute.
So is it like this?
Yeah, but put a space after. Yeah, there you go. Name equals, and then quotes. And it looks like they want to use cat photo URL, all one word.
Let's have a look. So let's see what's going on down here. So
yep, there's our form.
Cool. So let's go to the next change.
Yeah.
Placeholder text is used to give people a hint about what kind of information to enter into an input. For example, input type text placeholder equals email address. So add the placeholder text cat photo URL to your input element. So we shall put add the placeholder text. Let me see. So what are we doing?
It's another attribute.
So that
after your quote, space. Yep.
Yep. So for example, input type equals sex, and then we just need placeholder.
Yep.
And then equals cat photo URL. Right. So let's check our code. Yep.
Good.
So
if you wanted to, I was going to have you, so go back, scroll down there. So there, that's what you just put in there. That's a placeholder. Basically, it's just giving them, you can write, sometimes people will put instructions in there for like enter name here kind of a thing. And just helps to give them a little clue as to what to do there sometimes.
So that's it. So to prevent a user from submitting your form when required information is missing, you need to add the required attribute to the input element. There's no need to set a value to the required attribute. Instead, just add the word required to the input element, making sure there is space between it and the other attributes. So where would you put required? Like
you can put it anywhere. Yeah, it just needs to be have spaces around it. Yep, just like that.
Okay. Use the button element to create a clickable button. For example, button click here button creates a button with the text click here. Add a button element with the text submit below the input element. The default behavior of clicking a form button without any attributes submits the form to the location specified in a form's action attribute. So let's see where we are. We're going to add a button with the text. So
Awesome.
So even though you added your button below the text input, they appear next to each other on a page just because both input and button elements are inline elements which don't appear on new lines. You learned previously that the button submits a form by default, but you can explicitly add the type attribute with the value submit to make it clearer. Go ahead and do this to specify where this button should submit the form. So
yeah, you want to just add a type attribute and give it the value submit. And that would be inside your button. You need to put that. Well, that's actually, you want to leave the word submit there without the type around it there, but move your type attribute inside your button opening tag.
oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Let's see some.
Yep, that should work.
Cool. So I'm starting to press Control Enter rather than actually using my mouse. So trying that.
Great. Awesome. I didn't even know you could do Control Enter to actually push enter there.
Yeah,
That's
so
great.
that way it just keeps the hands on the keyboard, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You can use radio buttons for questions wherever you want only one answer out of multiple options. Here is an example of a radio button with the option of cat, input type, radio, cat. Remember that input elements are self-closing. Before the text input, add a radio button with the option set as indoor. So before the text input, add a radio button with the option set as indoor.
So I think that they want you to do this before the entire input tag, possibly. So hit enter there and then go up a line.
I'm not sure.
Or you could, yeah, just go up a line and put your input type equals radio. So this is another input tag, just like this one. Instead of type equals text, though, it's going to say type equals radio. Yep, and then you can close that with the angle with your greater than. And then I think they put the word cat after it.
No, I'm not sure. I don't. It doesn't really say, so let's just try this. Now, the text indoor should be located directly to the right.
Oh, it's indoor. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So type instead of it, go ahead on the outside of the angle. Type indoor there. I think. Yeah. Basically, it's going to put a little radio button before the word indoor. So if you go down and look, there it will be. Yep.
Okay, so label elements are used to help associate the text for an input element with the input element itself, especially for assistive technologies like screen readers. For example, label input type equals radio, cat label makes it so clicking the word cat also selects the corresponding radio button. That's your radio button inside the label element. So that's your radio button inside the label element. So Okay, cool. So
Yep.
right. The ID attribute is used to identify specific HTML elements. Each ID attribute's value must be unique from all other ID values for the entire page. Add an ID attribute with the value indoor to the radio button. When elements have multiple attributes, the order of attributes doesn't matter. So the value indoor to the radio button.
So which one is your radio button?
Or this one.
Right. So that you want to add another attribute to it, like type equals radio. That's one attribute. You want to add another one called ID. Go over one more. Go inside the input label, not there. Go over right after the end quote of radio.
This one.
Yes, space. Add another attribute called ID equals. Yeah. And what's it supposed to be set to? Indoor. Yeah. It looks like it wants a lowercase. I don't know if it, yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So what's happening downstairs? Let me just check, because that's, so we see that this is indoor. Yep, that's
all right. That lasagna looks pretty good.
Sorry? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Next, another radio button with the option outdoor in the new label element. The new radio button should be placed after the first one. Also set its the attribute to outdoor. So
you basically want to create another one of these under or right after it. So go to the end, hit a new line. Yeah. And create one for outdoor. Looks good.
let me just see what's changed. So yeah, so I pick which one it is over here on the website and I work through it. And then we're gonna go into the next one.
All right. We are chugging right along.
Yeah, notice that both radio buttons can be selected at the same time. To make it so selecting one radio button automatically deselects the other, both buttons must have a name attribute with the same value. Add the name attribute with the value indoor, outdoor to both radio buttons. So let's this. That selects both buttons. Okay, so I'm guessing I'll just put the name attribute over here.
Right, that's correct.
To be indoor.
You just need some quotes around that.
And then the next one is again.
Yeah, you're basically telling the browser that these belong to the same group. So only allow selection of one of them. So it'll do the toggling for you.
Yeah, so that'll. Right. So yeah, I was reading quietly. If you select the radio button and submit the form data for the button is based on its name and value attributes. Since your radio button do not have a value attribute, the form data will include indoor, outdoor equals on, which is not useful when you have multiple buttons. Add a value attribute to both radio buttons for convenience. Set the button's value attribute to the same value as its ID attribute. So we're going to put indoor to the same value as its ID attribute.
That was correct. That was correct.
That's indoor, and then the next one will be outdoor.
Right. So when you're selecting, for example, that first one, the value that you're going to get when you submit will be indoor. You could put anything in there, but it usually is the same as the ID in label.
Okay, the field set element is used to group related inputs and labels together in the web form. Field set elements are block level elements, meaning that they appear on a new line. Nest the indoor and outdoor radio buttons within a field set element, and don't forget to indent the radio buttons. So that would be nest the indoor and outdoor radio buttons within a field set. So essentially, is it saying that I have to basically create a field set over here? Cool. Yep, that's done it. The legend element acts as a caption for the content in a field set. It gives users context about what they should enter into that part of the form. Add a legend element with the text, "Is your cat an indoor or outdoor cat?" above the radio, both of the radio buttons. So is your wait, hold on, I need to do.
No, you're fine. You actually. Nest. Wait, add a legend element. Yeah, I think that you need to close it right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering about something else. So yeah, that's fine. 51. Let's see. So next you're going to add some form input elements. So add another field set element directly below the current field set element. So we shall. Yep, that's fine.
All right. Add a legend element with the text, "What's your cat's personality?" inside the second field set element. That should be it, hopefully. Yep.
We are getting there.
Mm-hmm.
Forms commonly use checkboxes for questions that may have more than one answer. For example, here's a checkbox with the option of tacos. Input type equals checkbox tacos. So under the legend element you just add an input with its type attribute set to checkbox and give it the option of loving. So under the legend, you add an input with its type attribute. So give it a is it
So you want to close your input right after your type equals checkbox attribute. And yeah, I don't think it's, and then you just have the word. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh wait, you don't need to close that like that. Yeah, there you go. Yep. Yep.
Right. Add an ID attribute with the value of love into the checkbox input.
Yeah. So I don't know if it told us before, but the ID attribute on a page, on a web page, when you give your elements an ID, and you can give any element an ID attribute, ID equals whatever, should be a unique identifier, which is why it's called ID. Should be unique on your page, and that way any kind of code like JavaScript that you might later want to write to get one of those attributes or get one of those HTML elements and do something with it, like hide it under a certain condition or move it around or do whatever you want to with it, that ID will allow you to do that if it's unique on the page. They're having us set it here just I think to get you in the habit of just having an ID on an element, but generally IDs will have classes, or elements will have classes and IDs like that to identify them within the whole web page. Good job. Andrei, you're muted now all of a sudden.
Whoops. Okay, cool.
There we go. Okay.
So the next one is there's another way to associate an input element text with the element itself. You can nest the text within a label element and add a full attribute with the same value as inputs elements ID attribute. So associate text loving with the checkbox by unnesting the text loving in a label element and place it to the right side of the checkbox input element. So we need to associate the text with the checkbox by unnesting the text loving in a label element. We'll place it to the right side. So we need to add a label to the whole thing, if I remember correctly.
I think all you have to do is nest the text loving inside the label element. So, for example, where you have the opening tag label, you want to put loving and then closing tag label. Yeah, and remove that one you have over there at the beginning of the line. And then you want to add an attribute to your label, the opening label tag called for. oops, move it over.
Oh.
For,
Like
yep,
so.
Yep, for equals. And that value, same value as the input element's ID attribute. So your for equals, in quotes, since the ID attribute for your input tag is loving, that should be loving also. It has to be probably the same case. So it looks like lowercase l. Yeah, so basically you're saying this is a label for the element on the page that has the ID loving.
Okay, cool. Add the name attribute with the value personality to the checkbox input element. Well, you won't notice this in the browser. Doing this makes it easier for a server to process your web form, especially when multiple checkboxes. So add the name checkbox input.
Yep, good job.
See how, yeah, that's this is all coming up like this. So like
Nice.
a checkbox instead of a button. Yeah, we've just been going through the coding, but this is how it's looking so far. Add another checkbox after the one you just added. ID attribute value should be lazy, and the name attribute should be so. So we will need what, another input?
Yes.
ID equals lazy. Type equals checkbox. Name equals personality.
Mm-hmm.
I also add a label. Okay, so basically. That should hopefully good.
Good job.
Yeah. So add a final checkbox after the previous one of an ID attribute of energetic. The name attribute should be. So basically kind of the same thing. So
Hey, good job.
Awesome. So 59. Like radio buttons, form data for selected checkboxes are name, value, attribute pairs. While the value attribute is optional, it's best practice to include it with any checkboxes or radio buttons on a page. Add a value attribute to each checkbox for convenience. Set each checkbox value to the same value as its ID attribute. So let me see where we are. I'm going. Add a value attribute to each checkbox. We've used value before.
So your inputs that are checkboxes, those three, loving, lazy, and energetic. Yeah, there you
go. What it should be.
Oh, this is a name attribute. So not value, but name. It should be not value, but name. So change the word value.
So change the word value to
name.
Well, we
name.
already have name. Personally.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry, my bad. It is value. It is value.
It's the same as ID, so that means we need loving.
Yeah.
We need
Yep. Woohoo, we're almost done. I think you might finish this whole section today.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
We can do that. In order to make a checkbox checked or radio button selected by default, you need to add the checked attribute to it. There's no need to set a value to the checked attribute. Instead, just add the word check to the input element, making sure there is space between it and other attributes. Make the first radio button and the first checkbox selected by default. To the first checkbox. So if this is my first checkbox, I can just write the value called checked.
Yes.
And that should, yeah.
There you go.
Have it check for me. Go. The first is.
What's it say?
Did I not get the first? I think I didn't get the first
raise. Oh, it's not the first one.
Oh, is it into?
First radio button. We did the check boxes.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Checked. No, it says checkbox. Okay.
Make the first radio button and the first checkbox selected by default.
Oh, and the first. Yes. Okay. Fine. That's us not reading properly.
Yes, that's all that is.
Okay, so we now have these two. Oh, no,
that one's not.
That doesn't do it.
Checked.
Oh wait, checked. Yeah, not checkbox. Let's see. There you go.
There we go.
Now you add the footer section to the page. After the main element, add the footer element. So
can he do it, ladies and gentlemen? Get through this whole section before 2 o'clock. We have 20 minutes, and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more to go. Throw a little excitement out there.
Yes. Let's see. So footer. No, we need to close it, don't we? Yeah. Closing tags should have it. No, this one, we need to...
No pressure, Andrei.
Well, so what is it, 20 minutes to do 7? I don't know what we do.
I think we can do that, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Next, and these ones are quite hopefully easy because they're all like key elements and footer, so no copyright. Okay, no copyright.
You're gonna copy the copyright?
Yeah. Okay, check the
job.
code. There we are. Make the text free 𝐿𝐴𝐤𝐿 into the link by enclosing anchor element. So let me just make the interlink by enclosing. Yes, now this is where I kind of forget where.
A little bit of review here. Okay, so how to do an anchor on something.
So I had a click, and then over here I've got an A. Where do I start the A? So A target equals blank href. A href equals. So that's what I need to do. So
you want to just put that around the freecodecamp.org, not around the no copyright part. Yep, there you go.
href equals.
Well, you want to leave that there because that you want them to see. So, for example, go ahead and close quote, open close quote right there. That's fine. Go ahead, open your quote, close your quote, and well, no. See that you've got your HTTPS right above and the instructions above there. You want that whole thing. You want to grab that as your href.
Yes. Okay. Cool. So we are going to be doing that, and then that, and then get rid of the dot, and then that should be, and then we should be.
No, well, you want to put your closing angle right after your .org close quote. So, yep, right there. Yep, and then at the very end, close your tag. So what you're doing there is you're putting the freecodecamp.org text in between your opening a tag and your closing a tag, which will make the freecodecamp.org clickable. Yeah.
Let me just make sure I did it right. So href, and then I need to close it. Okay, and then I finish with that. So yeah, I think that should be fine. Because if I go over here, make it clickable. So
yep, good job.
Perfect. Let's see. Notice that everything you've added to the page so far is inside this body element. All page content elements that should be rendered to the page go inside the body element. However, other important information goes inside the head element. Add a head element just above the body element. Okay. And let's see what else we got. The title element determines what browsers show in the title bar tab for the page. Add a title element within the head element using the text below CAF Photo app. So here we are.
Good job.
So notice the entire contents of the page are also within a HTML element. All other elements must be descendants of this HTML element. Add the lang attribute within the value en to the opening HTML tag to specify that the language of the page is English. So we will need to do
This is an attribute.
Oh yeah, yes, it's an attribute. So that means we need to go into here.
Awesome, good job.
Equals en.
Yeah.
And we'll check it.
The last one.
All pages should begin with doc type HTML. This special string is also known as a declaration and ensures the browser tries to meet industry-wide specifications. To complete this project, add this declaration as the first line of the code. So we're gonna put all pages should begin with doc type HTML.
So this is a whole separate single tag. Goes before that one. Yep, it always goes at the beginning of any HTML page. Yep. Yay! Woohoo! Yep. Oh, look here. What's this?
Oh, it's the next phase, which I think we will reserve this till the following week, I suppose.
That would probably be good. Yeah, I would agree with that.
We spent a bit of time, and yeah, we managed to do this within 2 hours. So, what do you think? Do you reckon people with your ADaPT program are going to be able to do this with 2 hours? I did have a little bit of help from you. So
yeah, but
yeah.
I mean, not much. And I think if I had just kept my mouth shut for a couple more minutes, you would have probably figured it out. It's just that I kind of jumped in. And yeah, I thought it was really great. You went just boom, boom, boom all the way through it. And so hopefully this encourages everyone who's interested in learning this, that it's not that hard. It does get a little harder as you go. But if you really try to understand it as you go, the thing that you're going to build onto your foundation is not going to be that much difficult. It's going to be incremental and just keep going. And if you join us live, you'll be able to ask the questions as it gets more difficult. Or yeah, you got it. It's passed the test, but you don't understand why. Or why is that important to even do it this way? You can ask those kinds of questions. We'll be able to help.
Yeah, it's one of those that, you first will start off with learning the basics and going through all of this, but eventually we are going to get involved with projects and doing all of this kind of stuff, and that's where it's going to get really interesting.
Yes. So encourage you to come back and join us next time. And join us, go back and watch it if you didn't get a chance. Thank you, Andrei. I appreciate being here, and I look forward to joining again next week. Same time, same channel.
Yeah, exactly. Same time, same channel. All right. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.